Hello everyone, this is Ron from High Tech Legion, and this is our component installation tutorial part of our review of the NZXT Switch 810 Special Edition Gunmetal Gray case. And usually we do, for mid-tower cases, we do the power supply installation first, but this is a full tower case and there's plenty of room to work with. So let me start by installing the motherboard, and of course to do that you have the motherboard standoffs. Take it from the bag. It's labeled motherboard standoff, and inside are the standoffs and the adapter you can use to put it in. I've already placed about 8 of them there. You just follow the guide that's etched in there depending on the size of your case. You have a standard ATX case, just follow all the letter A's. So for this one, with the adapter installed, you can easily install it without the use of long nose pliers. You can either use your hand or even tighten it further with a screwdriver. There you go. So that's a nice feature to have. This little adapter that is included. I believe NZXT started to include these with all of their later cases. Just try the thing. There you go. And now we have our ATX standoffs in there, all 9 of them. That's 9 included in the bag. As you can see, the standoff bag is empty now, and we are going to put in our motherboard. And for that, like I mentioned in the overview, I am going to put in a heatsink. I'm going to have a heatsink that is covering the 8-pin cover. So that's to show you how useful it is to have an extender like the one that NZXT provides. So what I'm going to do is plug in this extender into the motherboard, put in the heatsink that covers the 8-pin socket, and show you why that is very convenient to have this extender in a case like this, even if your power supply reaches that part. Of course, now we have our motherboard standoffs installed. The next step is to install our motherboard, and as mentioned, our test motherboard, rather the heatsink we use is the one that covers the type that covers the 8-pin area. Hence the need to use the 8-pin extender that NZXT provides with the Switch 810. So that's very convenient. As you can see there, the 8-pin female end allows you to move around that area. Although it doesn't really matter since there's plenty of space above the Switch 810. You can still maneuver your regular power supply cable into the female connector itself, even with the setup like this, because of the space up there. But just demonstrating the flexibility that an extender cable provides to users in case that area is hard to access once you've done installation. So let's put this motherboard into our system using the screws. The screws are labeled 632 screw in the accessory package. You can also use these to install hard drive into the caddie if you don't want to use the toolless option. And not to be confused with the other screw that is used for mounting the SSD. So make sure it's labeled 6-32 in the baggie, and then we install it to our motherboard, and then let's proceed with installation. Alright, and as you can see, we have our motherboard installed, and we have also plugged in our front panel connectors, the USB ports, as well as the audio and the front panel switches, and everything is very clean. There's no hanging wires at all, even the top right corner. Probably can't be able to see it right now, but we'll take a look at that later. But now we're going to install a power supply as our next step, and you can see it as a bottom of the power supply area. And all we need to do is take our power supply and take the screw. You can see there's only 4 screws in there. That's perfect for power supply mounting. And you take your power supply. I'm going to take a non-modular power supply so we can show you the cable management later on, and I'm going to put the fan facing downwards into the ventilation area. Same there. And then, using the screws provided, secure it at the rear with a screwdriver. For that, of course, we're going to route these cables at the back and see just how well the cable routing options are before we proceed with installation of the other components. Alright, so I've installed the power supply, and I've actually tried to clean up the cables a bit in the back, and we'll show you that later. And what I've also done is what usually we install the video card last or second to last, but in this case we're going to install it now but also plug in the SATA port just in case it gets covered. To demonstrate the space available inside, let me take my tape measure here and measure. According to NZXT specs, of course, you can remove the one of the hardware bay right in front. If you remove the screws here, provides you about 270 millimeters, 370 millimeters. Let me actually, how many millimeters is that? And 370 millimeters, which is several inches. That's what 15, 20. So about in total, there's about 19 inches, or that's. I don't think they're even planning to make any video card that long, but even without, as you can see, let me try a full extension of this card and measure of this fan right here. And it's even if you have something at the bottom. Let's measure the tape measure. You can see, I think you have at least close to a foot there. As you can see there, it's about, I would say, a foot, even with the fan fully extended. And let me grab this just so there's a visual reference. This is the largest video card currently available. This is AD6990. And of course, before you install a video card, make sure to remove the appropriate PCIe slot cover. Thankfully, they just use thumb screws, and these PCIe slot covers are removable. And you can replace them back in, not like those punch-out ones. Usually, premium cases don't have the permanently punched out PCIe slot cover. Those are usually reserved for budget and entry-level cases. And that's 3. Should cover enough. Let me just demonstrate. Here, there's no wiggle. You don't need to wiggle it around to make it fit in at all. There's plenty of room to spare with the fan not extended at all, and even not fully extended, but a little bit partially extended. You can see that the 6990 still fits. Of course, you want to give it a little bit of space in there, just so it can the ventilation doesn't get crowded. And let me just free this up, and then let me just demonstrate my actual video card I'm going to use. Let's use this 6580 matrix. Is a triple slot card. You can see, even if you have, since there's 9 PCI slots, you can even have quad SLI and at the bottom, and you can have a pair of these triple slot triple slot video cards without a problem. Even have a room for spare at the bottom. There's 9 PCI slots, and you need only 8 for quad SLI. So, and as you can see there, this is the 580. Matrix GTX 580 from Asus, and it pretty much has standard GTX 580 length. Now this one, you can actually fully extend your fan here, as you can see there. It does not hit it at all. So it's enough. There's still a bit of clearance there. You can see a few millimeters of clearance. That's very good. Even if you install one at the bottom, even there to aid with the cooling, that comes in very handy. And now we've of course plug in your video card connector, and you can see here at the bottom I stored some of my non-used the ones that the extra cables that I didn't plug in. You can store it here on the front here at the side of the power supply, or here in the front if you're not going to install a fan here. You can also install optional 140 or 120 millimeter fan in here, and if you remove this bottom, you can also install another fan in there, or you can run a 240 millimeter radiator. You can install it there as well. This of course is the basic tutorial with the air cooling. If you want a tutorial on the water cooling setup, we have done that in our previous review. Just search on our High Tech Legion channel for the other regular Switch 810 review. This is the review for the Switch 810 Special Edition. So I'm showing you the air cooling setup options here. And now, so we have our video card installed. Let's go to the back where we install our drives, and of course I think I'm going to show you my how to install the optical device first, since we're here anyway. Alright, let's go to the front. Users have 2 options when it comes to installing an optical device inside the NZXT Switch 810. You can see that the top bay cover is specifically designed to house an optical device and keep the front bezel with a uniform look. You can also install it in any one of the other 2 drive bays in front, which of course when you install an optical device here, it will sit flush with the default bezel installed on your optical device in there, and it doesn't have a uniform look as the top one. So let me demonstrate that. And first, the locking mechanism. We've seen this locking mechanism before. First, I believe I've seen it with the NZXT H2. Quite a simple device. It's very simple. All you need to do is find the NZXT logo and just move it to the right side. Any one of the three. I'll put and then the top one first, and then just hold the latch here and just pull it out. Same at the bottom. Make sure it's in an unlock position to pull it out. That is the unlock position. And let me demonstrate what it looks like if you install it at the bottom. Might be a bit tight since it is a new case. You can see there, and as long as the mounting holes are aligned, you just simply lock it back again, and then move the NZXT logo into the lock to the left side. See, you can't pull the latch out, and it stays in place. And if you want to strengthen it, you can add screws on the other side. And let me demonstrate again. So unlock, just the opposite. Now let me demonstrate what it looks like with the uniform front bezel look. Again, this might be a bit tight squeeze since it is a brand new case. Make sure nothing is blocking. Might take a two-hand operation to do that. There you go. Tight. You can see it's forcing it, and you can see that it's recessed a few millimeters. And push it further until you see the holes aligned in the back, or you can actually just there we go. Press your lock, and then move the NZXT logo to the left. You can see it's secured in place, and it's staying in there. And here is the front bezel. Just simply place it back. You can see the eject button and the flip bay cover. They all align. Of course, depends on your on the model of your optical device. It might not be compatible. Some optical devices are the slot kind, so it won't work in this particular cover. But if you have the regular optical device like what I have in here, which is the Samsung SH223N DVD RW, it will fit perfectly fine. To install a 2.5 inch or a 3.5 inch hard drive inside the hot swap bay, let's first take out the drive bay cover. Same way, just squeeze the left over the right side and pull out. See there? And then take out the thumb screw, left side, and just pull it with the handle. And as you can see, there are mounting holes, and they're labeled for 3.5 inch and 2.5 inch drive. Of course, you must put in the SATA connectors facing the rear side so that it will plug in to the hot swap docking area. And for SSD drives, the manual states that you use the screws here, the M3 5 flat screws. But if you're going to install a 3.5 inch drive, according to the manual, you should use these 632, rather not these ones, these are actually the hex screws. You should use the same motherboard style screws. Use the 632 motherboard screws. And of course you put it back. You install your drive in there, for example, SSD drive, like that. Screw it in underneath. And then just push it back into the drive bay. And of course, make sure that it actually makes a connection. It's secured properly so that it makes a connection when you plug it in. And of course, enable hot swap settings like in the BIOS or UEFI of your motherboard. Alright, we are almost done with our installation. As you can see, it is a bit messy here behind the right side panel. All our cables are routed in this side. And we are going to clean up eventually once we have finished installing our last two components, which is the SSD drive and the hard drive. And in order to install both, you need to take out one of the caddies here. As you can see, just take the handle and pull out. And there's a reason why it bends. As you can see in there, there are also these locks. There's toolless locks that go inside the mounting hole of the hard drive. So take a hard drive like this 1 terabyte Seagate hard drive. Make sure that the SATA connectors and the SATA power connectors are aligned with the handles here in the rear. And just take your hard drive, match the alignment with the locking mechanism on one side only. So make sure it's one side first. Make sure one side is completely locked in place before you proceed to push in, and then just bend it slightly to fit the other two locks on the other side. And sometimes something like this happens where it doesn't go all the way in. You can just force it. There you go. Just make sure it's because if that is sticking out, you won't be able to slide it into the hard drive cage. And once that is done, just put it back, and of course take your SATA connectors and plug it in. And for next time, we're going to the next step we're going to do is take out another hard drive caddie to install an SSD drive. As you can see, there are these mounting holes at the bottom for SSD drive. Although what usually happens is that the tooth locking mechanism for the regular 2.5-inch hard drives is going to block the 2.5-inch hard drive from being installed. So you should take that out. Just slide it out to place. You can see there. Simple as that. Same with the top. You only need to do it on one side, the one where there are screws, and you take the M35 flat screws included in the accessory package. Align your SSD in there and install it, like I have done here. As you can see, SSD is installed, and all you need to do is slide it back in, and you're good to go. As you can see, it's quite a ways farther, so make sure that your cable reaches that area, and of course plug in your SATA cable. Now in previous NZXT cases, what happened was they also had another plastic bar around this area to kind of add with stability and strength, so that prevented the 90-degree angle installation. But now it looks like they fixed it immediately with the Switch 810 release. The last one I reviewed was the Switch 410. It still had that problem, so that is great that they've actually fixed that problem really fast. And now users can actually install 90-degree angled SATA cables and 90-degree angled power cables into that slot. So let's plug in all remaining cable components, and let's do some cable management before we turn it on and see what the final product looks like. Alright, so this is what it looks like behind the right side panel. I've tried to manage the cable as well as possible, and in around 15 minutes you can spend more time and give it a little bit better effort than what I did, most likely. But as long as my philosophy, as long as the cables are not blocking any of the airflow on the other side, on the main chamber, that's perfectly fine to me. As you can see, cables have their own air to route, plenty of space to, even loops to attach the cable ties and the cables and hold them in place. The clearance behind the motherboard tray is actually only 25 millimeters thick. So it's not the thickest compared to other cases, but it's more than enough to fit most of our cables in here. So for extra cables, if you have a non-modular power supply, I would recommend keeping them in the main chamber in there, or if you have space to route it here, and store them here on the 3.5-inch drive area that you didn't use at the bottom. You can do that as well. And now let's put back the right side panel and go back to the main panel once again, and just show you what it looks like with the complete setup we got there and cable management before we fire it up and see the LED colors, and also listen to what the fan speed noise sounds like. Alright, here is our system fully assembled. As you can see, you can't really see any wires at all. There's just the GPU wires there in the front, and everything is routed cleanly to the back, and everything has a place. That's what's good about this. If you're going to have a large viewing window like this one, of course you want to have a good cable organizing feature as well, so it doesn't look messy looking through inside. I probably didn't mention the clearance for the CPU heatsink. We didn't use a tall heatsink this time because I wanted to demonstrate the use of the 8-pin extender, and but no problem if you have a large tower heatsink, since the clearance I measured about 190 millimeters. You can fit that. Even the NHD14, which is I think only 170 or 165 millimeters tall, so that's plenty of room left. on the left side panel. And of course the viewing window extends all the way to the bottom. So if you have a GPU like this one, this is the Asus Matrix GTX 580 Platinum, which has that variable LED on the side which indicates the load of the video card. If you have that, you want to show it off, this is a good case for that, since you can see the GPU. Unlike other cases which have a window only in the top, and they put, even if they have a window extended to the bottom, they usually would put these fan mounting arms at the bottom so that you can have optional cooling. There's no such thing as that in A10, which is my preference really, because I don't need the extra GPU cooling on the side anyway. If you don't have good GPU cooling, rather good cooling coming in from the intake and exhaust at the top, it doesn't really matter if you add one to the side. It will only, if you don't have enough, you don't have a good airflow in the exhaust and the intake in the front, it doesn't really help too much because it will just heat up here in the front anyway. Alright, and all we need to do now is of course power up our system and demonstrate all the features which require power, like the LED function in the rear and the of course the DVD drive opening in the front. Alright, let's plug it in and power it up, and also we can listen at how loud the default fans are that are installed in the NZXT Switch A10 case.